The average American smart home now includes a doorbell with a camera, a speaker with opinions, and at least one light bulb that needs a firmware update before dinner. Somewhere between convenience and electronic improv comedy, people started outsourcing normal behavior to blinking plastic cylinders. Here are 101 of the strangest results. 1. When the bedroom speaker announced sunrise mode at 5:12 a.m., a man in Ohio saluted it, thanked it, and asked for 5 more minutes like it was his commanding officer. The blinds opened anyway. The lamp turned on, and his coffee maker started without consent. He lost an argument with a glowing ring before his feet touched the carpet. 2. Two roommates in Phoenix synced every bulb in the apartment to movie mode, then forgot the system also controlled the bathroom lights. Halfway through a horror film, one friend stood up for a normal human errand and entered total darkness with orchestral strings still playing from the hallway. Nothing says modern comfort like brushing the sink by flashlight during Act 3. 3. In a Dallas suburb, a woman used her smart thermostat as a revenge tool after her husband said 72 degrees was perfectly reasonable for sleeping. She lowered the house to 66 from her phone while sitting beside him on the couch. He spent 20 minutes checking vents, windows, and his own pulse. The thermostat won by doing absolutely nothing dramatic. 4. Before leaving for work, a man in Tampa asked his smart speaker to play something relaxing for the dog. 8 hours later, the pet sitter opened the door to 32 consecutive hours of ocean sounds and pan flute. The dog was asleep under a chair. The humans looked like they had been trapped inside a dentist waiting room. 5. Near a suburban garage in Michigan, 3 neighbors compared video doorbell clips like they were trading game film. One had raccoons stealing bird seed. One had a delivery driver punting a box over a planter. One had an uncle testing whether the lens could see through his baseball cap. The street had accidentally built its own low-budget surveillance festival. 6. When a family in New Jersey taught the kitchen assistant to start a grocery list, the youngest adult in the house used it for emotional sabotage. Milk, eggs, cereal, apology flowers, and dad was wrong about the sink. The list auto-synced to every phone before breakfast. Few household disputes survive once they become produce aisle reading material. 7. Beside the front door in Denver, a smart lock jammed after its owner insisted on assigning different access codes by mood. Weekday code, weekend code, in-laws code, dog walker code, use only in emergencies code. By Friday evening, he forgot which number opened his own house and spent 10 minutes explaining his identity to his porch camera. The camera kept recording like a silent little landlord. 8. If you let your vacuum robot map the home, someone in America will eventually use that floor plan to judge the family's priorities. One couple noticed the app labeled the nursery, office, and kitchen correctly, but named a corner full of unopened packages Storage Mountain. The machine had learned their habits with laser precision and zero tact. 9. At a backyard cookout in Arizona, a man tried to impress guests by voice controlling the patio lights, music grill thermometer, and sprinkler timer at once. Signal overlap turned dinner into a mechanical talent show. The speaker switched to whale sounds. The lights flashed violet, and the sprinkler hit the hamburger buns directly. Technology entered the barbecue and chose weather over flavor. 10. Across one California cul-de-sac, families began muting their smart speakers during arguments because the devices kept lighting up every time someone yelled, "Listen to me." Blue rings glowed like tiny referees from kitchen counters and nightstands. One unit even offered to search for couples counseling. Domestic tension looks different when the nearest appliance assumes it has been invited. 11. While cleaning the living room, a man in street. Lewis discovered his smart TV had built a stronger relationship with the dog than with anyone else. The voice remote responded more accurately to the pet's bark pattern than to his own commands. The television changed inputs on the first bark and ignored 3 full English sentences. Electronics love clarity, even when it arrives from a Labrador. 12. 3 sisters in Atlanta set their mother's home into senior convenience mode with smart plugs, voice reminders, and automatic lamps. She immediately used the system for theater. Every evening at 7, the hallway lights dimmed and a speaker announced, "No one helps me in this house even when she lived alone." Automated guilt has excellent repeat scheduling. 13. In a Chicago high-rise, a resident attached motion sensors to the refrigerator because he was just curious about late-night snack patterns. The data chart showed 11 openings between 11:40 p.m. and 1:05 a.m. mostly linked to shredded cheese and leftover pie. He printed the graph and taped it to the freezer. Even your own kitchen can build a case file. 14. If a person can make a lamp answer to a voice command, that lamp will eventually receive a stupid name. One North Carolina family renamed every device after famous judges so they could say things like, "Justice Marshall, dim the dining room." The living room responded to your honor. Constitutional comedy ended when Grandma accidentally turned off the Wi-Fi with a dinner prayer. 15. Behind a split-level home in Ohio, a motion-activated sprinkler was installed to stop deer from eating the tomatoes. It worked for one night. The next afternoon, the owner forgot the sprinkler was still linked to his home app and triggered it while showing guests the garden from his phone. 4 adults got hosed in dress clothes. Wet khakis are a visible management failure. 16. When the garage camera sent a person detected alert at midnight. A man in Nevada bolted outside with a flashlight and a baseball bat. The app had flagged his own reflection in the side window of his truck. He spent 30 seconds circling himself in panic before understanding the geometry. Glass only needs one angle to turn confidence into cardio. 17. Near the kitchen island, a man tried reconnecting 4 smart speakers after naming all of them the same wake word. Extension cords looped around his torso. One speaker lit up like a cheerful mascot in his hand, and his wife stood beside him taking a smiling selfie with the TV remote while the lights kept changing colors. The whole room looked like a hostage situation sponsored by electronics. 18. 2 brothers in rural Missouri programmed their father's recliner with a smart plug, so the chair heater, lamp, and television all activated from one voice command. He loved it until the internet dropped during a football game, and the living room forgot how to be furniture. Modern comfort turns medieval fast when your chair needs Wi-Fi to feel supportive. 19. In a Florida condo, a woman installed a smart mirror with weather, calendar, and skincare recommendations. By week 2, she was standing in front of it every morning, negotiating with a glossy rectangle that kept suggesting hydration and earlier bedtimes. A mirror used to tell people one rude truth. Now it arrives with push notifications and supporting evidence. 20. When the app said the laundry room humidity had spiked, a man in Oregon sprinted downstairs expecting a burst pipe. He found his teenage son using a handheld steamer to unwrinkle one shirt for a date. Sensor graphs had turned a normal act of vanity into a weather emergency. Nothing looks cooler than a teenager explaining cloud formation in a utility room. 21. By the staircase in Connecticut, an owner placed a smart speaker on each landing so she could control music from any floor. The devices began arguing over which one had heard her. Voice assistants use beam-forming microphones to estimate direction, so overlapping units can split one command into multiple bad guesses. She asked for jazz upstairs and got silence, kitchen timers, and a weather report downstairs. 22. During a dinner party in Seattle, a host bragged that his oven could preheat from his phone. He then pulled up the app, smiled, tapped the icon, and heated the oven while a plastic cutting board was still inside. Polymer edges curl fast under rising heat. The board warped into a shiny blue question mark before the appetizers even hit the table. 23. 3 college friends rented a smart cabin for a weekend and spent the first night trying to figure out which wall tablet controlled the fireplace. One panel dimmed the deck lights. One panel opened the blinds. One panel locked the pantry. They finally found the fireplace setting after accidentally trapping the chips. Luxury stops feeling luxurious once snacks become access-controlled. 24. In a Houston townhouse, a man connected his toothbrush to an app because it offered better brushing accountability. The software awarded streaks, score badges, and pressure warnings. Within days, he was pacing around the bathroom defending his molars to a phone screen at 6:30 a.m. Human dignity should never depend on whether a toothbrush thinks you respected the back left quadrant. 25. Outside a house in Kentucky, a smart bird feeder began sending motion alerts strong enough to interrupt a wedding RSVP conversation. The owner checked the app instantly every time. Cardinal, squirrel, blue jay, squirrel again. By the end of the week, he knew less about his friend's marriage plans than about one aggressive raccoon with excellent climbing form. Priorities now arrive in feathered push alerts. 26. If the shower can remember your favorite temperature, someone will treat that feature like constitutional law. A couple in Virginia spent 3 days blaming each other for changing the profile after the water started hotter than usual. Stored presets make small shifts feel personal. Plumbing became a trust exercise because a metal knob had started keeping records. 27. In a polished kitchen outside Minneapolis, two parents used the family display screen to assign chores by name. Their son learned he could also upload photos to the same shared board. Unload dishwasher appeared beside a giant edited image of his father asleep in a lawn chair holding tongs. Domestic management gets weaker once it becomes slideshow capable. 28. Along one cul-de-sac in Florida, residents started using video doorbells to narrate missed package outrage into the cloud. One woman recorded 7 separate clips explaining that the box absolutely should not have been left near the hydrangeas. Another staged a demo with a tape measure. Porch frustration now comes with replay angles, timestamps, and floral references. 29. Before bed in Utah, a man told his house to shut everything down. The command worked too well. Lights off, TV off, bedroom fan off. White noise machine off. His wife sat upright in perfect darkness and asked why the room sounded emotionally abandoned. Smart homes do not understand nuance. They hear everything and start acting like budget consultants. 30. At a family reunion in Tennessee, someone discovered the smart photo frame could be updated remotely from any linked phone. Cousins immediately began replacing childhood memories with screenshots of bad haircuts, failed fantasy leagues, and one blurry image of an uncle losing his flip-flop in a lake. Digital nostalgia becomes much meaner once the slideshow has no adult supervision. 31. When winter hit Boston, a man used remote thermostat control to pre-warm the house from the grocery store parking lot. He felt efficient, modern, and victorious until the app revealed he had been heating the place for 2 hours because he forgot to close it after checking. Smart energy savings become regular energy spending. The second confidence starts multitasking. 32. Across an open-plan loft in Portland, 2 speakers kept responding to television dialogue because a detective show used the same wake word as the homeowner's assistant. By the 3rd episode, the lamps had dimmed twice. One timer had started, and a grocery order now included batteries, canned tomatoes, and unsubscribe. Fiction had broken into the pantry through pure audio coincidence. 33. In the middle of brunch, a woman in Maryland used her smartwatch to check whether she had locked the front door. She had. Then she checked again. Then she pulled up the camera just to be certain the lock looked locked. Remote reassurance scales badly. At some point, security becomes watching your own doorknob like it owes you a confession. 34. Near the pantry in suburban Indiana, a family installed a smart display to help with recipes. It quickly turned into a permanent argument screen. How long to roast asparagus? Can dogs eat cantaloupe? Do taxes cover home office lighting? Who said that line in Die Hard? An assistant placed in the kitchen never stays culinary for long. It becomes the official microphone for household side quests. 35. After linking his treadmill, watch scale, and sleep tracker, a man in Colorado started each morning with 4 dashboards and 1 haunted expression. The data agreed on only one thing. He was tired. His coffee maker still waited for a manual button press because even the appliances understood that some rituals should remain analog and slightly offended. 36. In a gated community outside Orlando, a couple programmed their lights to mimic occupancy while they traveled. The randomization looked clever until every bulb in the house turned on at 2:17 a.m., then off again 6 minutes later, then back on in the laundry room alone. Even burglars would assume somebody inside had simply lost a fight with the app. 37. If your refrigerator can show the inside shelves on your phone, you will eventually stand in the supermarket staring at that tiny photo like it is satellite evidence. One man in Sacramento zoomed in on a container of leftovers for so long he forgot why he opened the app. The future promised convenience and delivered remote squinting. 38. Over a weekend in New Mexico, a woman trained her smart blinds to open gradually with sunrise. Her cat learned the timing before she did and started waiting on the pillow 5 minutes early for the first line of light. Scheduled automation rewards pattern recognition. The blinds became a furry alarm clock with claws and no snooze button. 39. Beside a washer in Pennsylvania, 2 roommates added leak detectors after seeing one scary home insurance commercial. The sensor finally screamed during a movie night, and they ran downstairs expecting catastrophe. One damp sock had landed partly on the floor after a load of towels. The basement echoed with emergency sirens because cotton misplaced itself by 9 inches. 40. At the edge of a driveway in Georgia, A smart mailbox sensor pinged every time the lid moved. The owner checked it faster than actual texts from family. Junk flyer, utility ad, coupon booklet, more junk. By Thursday, he was jogging outside for paper he never intended to read. Convenience had trained him to sprint for disappointment. 41. When guests arrived at a smart rental in the Smoky Mountains, the host sent a cheerful message explaining that the cabin was fully voice-enabled. Nobody knew which objects counted. One person asked the lamp for warmth. Another asked the fireplace for jazz. Someone thanked the microwave. The appliances stayed silent until the toilet auto-flushed by motion and earned everybody's respect. 42. Two parents in California set up a smart nursery with camera, temperature monitor, white noise, and sleep analytics. 3 weeks later, they knew the infant's room humidity curve better than their own bank balance. The graph lines looked impressive and useless at once. Nothing says young parenthood like arguing over a bar chart while holding an actual baby. 43. In a Louisiana kitchen, a woman used voice commands to add ingredients to her shopping list while cooking gumbo. Steam cabinet slams and family chatter corrupted the transcription. The final list included celery, broth, sausage, tell your brother absolutely not, and one mysterious item labeled more respectful onions. Speech recognition is a powerful tool for preserving context nobody requested. 44. Under a covered patio in South Carolina, a man set his outdoor speakers to autoplay classic rock when motion was detected after sunset. He wanted ambiance. He got a weekly parade of confused possums entering to the opening guitar of Sweet Home Alabama. The backyard stopped feeling secure and started feeling like a highly regional wildlife nightclub. 45. While showing off a smart faucet to friends, a homeowner in Nevada waved his hands theatrically and yelled commands like a low-budget wizard. The faucet ignored 3 of them, then activated during a completely unrelated conversation about baseball. Water hit the counter, a guest's sleeve, and 1 open bag of chips. Nothing kills authority faster than being disobeyed by plumbing in front of witnesses. 46. If your smoke detector also sends phone alerts, there is a strong chance the first notification will arrive when someone burns frozen pizza by 1 insulting inch. A family in Illinois received simultaneous alarms, app warnings, and flashing hallway lights over one overconfident oven setting. Modern hazard systems do not distinguish between true danger and mozzarella arrogance. 47. Across a home office in North Carolina, a smart lamp followed circadian lighting rules so carefully that afternoon emails took place under an orange glow resembling a very calm apocalypse. The owner claimed it improved focus. His coworkers on video calls asked whether he was broadcasting from a desert documentary. Wellness tech does not always understand how weird it makes a face look. 48. On a rainy afternoon in New York, a man checked his door camera so often that his package thief theory collapsed under its own footage. The suspicious repeated visitor was the mail carrier doing the normal job of mail carrying. Pattern detection goes sideways fast once boredom starts wearing a detective hat and opening the app every 9 minutes. 49. Before hosting Thanksgiving, a woman in Missouri synced the kitchen timer, oven probe, and speaker announcements so dinner milestones would sound through the whole house. Her turkey hit target temperature during an argument about folding tables. A calm voice cut through the room and declared, "Bird complete." Nothing ends family tension quite like a machine legally interrupting it. 50. In a duplex outside Philadelphia, 2 neighbors accidentally linked their smart speakers to the same streaming account and spent a week sabotaging each other from separate kitchens. Jazz in one unit became death metal in the other. Meditation tracks were replaced by sports radio. Shared logins are the modern form of launching potatoes over the fence. 51. When a smart bed offered sleep scores, a couple in Arizona immediately converted rest into competition. He got an 86 and bragged. She got a 91 and demanded silence. Mattress sensors estimate motion, heart rate trends, and wake periods using embedded pressure data. Their bedroom became a soft, rectangular referee with excellent memory and terrible bedside manners. 52. Near the foyer in Ohio, a man installed a hallway speaker just to announce when anyone entered the house. At first, it sounded practical. Then every arrival came with a robotic welcome home. Brian even if Brian was carrying trash, groceries, or a bad mood. Nothing makes adult life feel stranger than being formally introduced to your own staircase. 53. If the garage door app shows you whether the door is open, some people will check it from bed instead of turning their head toward the attached wall and remembering basic reality. One Iowa homeowner stared at the icon for reassurance while already hearing the garage door closed 30 feet away. The future turns ordinary certainty into subscription behavior. 54. Around a kitchen island in New Jersey, friends argued over whether the smart speaker should have a polite name or a command name. Mila felt warm. System felt efficient. They compromised by naming it Madam, which created sentences no appliance deserves to hear. By dessert, 3 adults were asking a countertop cylinder for music like nervous footmen. 55. During a heat wave in Texas, a family started using the thermostat history graph as courtroom evidence. See the spike at 3:14. That was after you opened the patio door. No, that was when you baked frozen fries. Climate control had stopped being comfort and become testimony. The graph sat there on the screen like a paid expert witness. 56. On a snowy morning in Wisconsin, an owner remotely started the smart coffee maker from bed and smiled at the smell drifting upstairs. Then he remembered the carafe had gone into the dishwasher overnight. Hot coffee brewed directly onto the warming plate and ran down the counter in a brown sheet. Automation works best when the container still exists. 57. In a polished suburban entryway, a smart umbrella stand sounded elegant until the weather alerts began scolding people who were already indoors and completely dressed. Rain probability reached 70%, and the device lit up like a disappointed valet. Nobody needs a furniture item that behaves like a local news anchor with no off switch. 58. When the lawn irrigation system was linked to weather forecast, a man in Kansas began speaking about precipitation strategy with the seriousness of a military planner. Then the local forecast missed a storm entirely, and his sprinklers fired during active rain. The front yard got watered by 2 different authorities who had clearly never met. 59. Beside the sofa in Idaho, a woman used a button on her phone to trigger movie night mode. Curtains closed, lamps dimmed, TV powered on. One smart plug also cut power to the router because she had labeled it living room side unit. Network comedy happens fast when your own scene-setting sequence disconnects the entire plot. 60. At a birthday party in Massachusetts, kids were banned from touching the voice assistant. So adults naturally became worse. One uncle asked it to tell a joke. Another demanded jazz trivia. And a third tried to order paper towels as a prank. The machine processed more nonsense from grown people in 9 minutes than it saw from children all month. 61. If your front porch has a camera and a speaker, someone will eventually use it to narrate package arrivals like a wildlife documentary. A woman in Virginia whispered commentary from her office while watching a courier approach the steps. He set the box down, heard a calm voice say, "Excellent nesting behavior," and looked around like the shrubs had developed opinions. 62. Under the sink in a Michigan kitchen, a leak sensor caught a slow drip exactly as advertised. The owner did not trust it because the sensor had previously screamed over spilled dish soap. Electrical contacts only need conductivity to complete the alarm circuit, which means soap bubbles can impersonate structural concern better than most people. Home monitoring occasionally panics with excellent technical justification. 63. 3 friends rented an Airbnb in Florida where the bedroom lights were controlled only by voice. Nobody could remember the host's chosen wake word after midnight. They tried house assistant hello and one man's full legal name out of desperation. The room stayed bright until someone found the breaker panel. Smart luxury ends where a missing light switch begins. 64. Across an expensive kitchen in California, a man installed a smart trash can that opened automatically when it sensed motion. This sounded futuristic until the lid kept rising every time somebody walked past holding groceries, a child, or emotional baggage. Garbage should not leap toward people with enthusiasm. That is raccoon behavior with a warranty. 65. When the family calendar was linked to the home speakers, appointments started echoing through the house at deeply unromantic moments. Dentist at 3:30. Water bill due Friday. Pick up stool softener. Daily logistics filled the kitchen with medically accurate suspense. Nothing clears a breakfast table faster than an appliance announcing digestive errands with perfect volume. 66. Near the mantle in a Colorado home, a digital assistant was connected to the fireplace insert for easy winter comfort. Guests love the novelty right up until the host misheard the command history and turned the flames off during a dramatic story, then back on during a toast. Fire should not feel like it is being moderated by customer support. 67. If the family can drop in on each other through smart displays. One relative will treat that feature like teleportation without ethics. A grandmother in Alabama used it to appear in the kitchen screen while her daughter was plating spaghetti. She offered sauce advice before saying hello. The room reacted like a casserole had begun judging from inside the wall. 68. On a humid day in South Florida, a smart dehumidifier was set to run automatically whenever moisture rose above a target number. It clicked on 6 times during one shower-heavy morning and sounded like a small aircraft in the hallway. Sensors measure relative humidity, not personal timing. The machine was technically correct and socially unbearable. 69. In a Sacramento apartment, a renter used smart plugs to fake a morning routine so lamps, kettle, and radio would all come alive at 7. Then he overslept on Saturday while the routine still executed. Empty rooms lit up. The kettle hissed, and sports radio greeted nobody. His apartment had started doing the day without him. 70. Over one long weekend in the Poconos, a family discovered their smart TV profile photos were visible on the screen during setup. Cousins spent 2 hours replacing each other's icons with cropped yearbook faces, old passport shots, and one astonishingly zoomed-in ear. Personalization features become weapons. The second extended family gains access and snacks. 71. Before sunrise in Oregon, a woman checked her sleep app and found a 4-minute wake period listed at 2:18 a.m. She then spent the next day trying to remember what had happened during those missing minutes. Data without context is a remarkable anxiety generator. A mattress had created a mystery and offered absolutely no witness statement. 72. If your smart speaker can order products by voice, eventually somebody will discover it during a joke and push too far. One Illinois household received 14 pounds of novelty gummy candy after an uncle exaggerated a snack request for effect. Voice purchasing removes friction from shopping, which is wonderful right up until comedy gets a direct line to shipping logistics. 73. Near the back fence in Oklahoma, a man installed motion lights bright enough to expose suspicious activity. Most of the suspicious activity turned out to be his own dog rediscovering the yard every night. The lights blasted on. The camera clipped it, and the app treated each lap like an attempted perimeter breach by a heavily armed corgi. 74. In a sleek condo kitchen, a woman used her fridge tablet to leave sweet digital notes for her husband. He responded by drawing crude cartoons with the stylus and setting them as the main screen background. Smart appliances make romance easier only if both parties agree that romance should not include a badly rendered potato wearing sunglasses. 75. During a storm outside Nashville, the power flickered, the router reset, and every smart device in the house reintroduced itself at once. Chimes rang, light bulbs flashed. One speaker announced setup mode like a cheerful hostage negotiator. Analog lamps never gather the household for a synchronized identity crisis in the dark. 76. If a camera watches the driveway, some homeowners will start reviewing footage to solve mysteries that did not need solving. One man in Arizona spent 20 minutes tracing exactly when his wife moved the recycling bin. Timeline scrub bars are dangerous in the hands of bored people. Simple objects gain criminal significance once there is video and free time. 77. Across a neat suburban kitchen in Ohio, a smart display kept surfacing recipes based on your habits, and the suggestions became accidentally rude. Meatloaf, nacho bake, cheesy tater casserole. The household felt profiled by dairy content. Recommendation engines are not judgmental in theory, but nothing else had publicly calculated their loyalty to shredded cheddar. 78. While hosting poker night in New Jersey, a man told his smart speaker to lower the lights a little. The assistant interpreted little as a scene label he had once created for baby nap mode. The room plunged into warm dimness, fit for lullabies and whispered apologies. Nothing weakens bluffing faster than accidental nursery ambience around chips and beer. 79. Beside a hallway closet in Minnesota, a sensor-based air freshener was integrated into the Home app for reasons that should have been questioned early. The owner could now trigger scented bursts remotely. He used this power on the drive home before company arrived. His house greeted guests with industrial pine confidence and the unmistakable energy of someone hiding a real story. 80. In a Maryland townhouse, A woman attached smart tags to her keys, wallet, remote, and favorite water bottle. She then spent 15 minutes searching for the phone that controlled all 4 trackers. Item finders reduce chaos right until the central command unit disappears. The technology was assembled beautifully around the single object most likely to vanish. 81. If the shower speaker remembers playlists, someone will eventually discover that singing the wrong lyric can wake the assistant mid-chorus and pause the music entirely. One Georgia man ruined his own dramatic solo during laundry by accidentally saying the trigger word in a pop song. Nothing humbles a bathroom performance like being interpreted as a command. 82. On a quiet street in Vermont, one homeowner used his video doorbells two-way talk feature to greet trick-or-treaters from a business trip. The voice delay made every response land 3 seconds late. Children said thank you to an empty porch while a floating adult voice arrived after the candy bowl was already half gone. Remote hospitality looks a lot like haunting. 83. 3 friends in Los Angeles linked their apartments to one shared smart home dashboard just for convenience while pet-sitting for each other. Within a week, one was dimming lamps across town for jokes. Another was checking living room temperatures competitively, and someone changed a bedroom bulb to purple at midnight. Friendship should not come with ambient light warfare. 84. At a farmhouse in Indiana, a man used a smart scale to log his weight every morning, then got suspicious when the number changed after he trimmed his beard. Load cells register force distribution across tiny sensor points, so foot position and floor surface can shift readings more than vanity would like. He moved the scale twice and accused physics of attitude. 85. During a Super Bowl party in Missouri, the host linked touchdown celebrations to flashing lights and a bass-heavy speaker routine. Great idea in theory. Terrible idea when a guest sat on the remote and triggered the scene after a commercial for truck financing. The room erupted in purple strobe chaos for absolutely no score at all. 86. If your pet feeder has a camera, voice speaker, and remote snack release, there is a strong chance you will start negotiating with an animal through an app while standing in another room of the same house. One couple in Florida did exactly that. They used Wi-Fi to ask a cat to step away from a plant 5 feet from the couch. 87. Near a polished staircase in Virginia, a motion-triggered nightlight system was meant to keep people safe after dark. Then the family dog learned the route well enough to activate a full glowing runway at 2:11 a.m. every night. Safety features should not give a 10-pound animal the production values of a celebrity entering an arena. 88. In a tiny Brooklyn apartment, a renter placed a voice assistant too close to the window and learned the hard way that city noise makes terrible co-managers. A passing siren triggered one misunderstanding. A street vendor voice triggered another, and the speaker tried to play salsa during a meeting. Urban life already has enough strangers yelling into your room. 89. Around an expensive kitchen island in Texas, a family started asking the smart display to settle tiny factual disputes during dinner. Soon it was ruling on steak temperature, state capitals baseball stats, and whether one cousin had actually said that rude thing last Christmas. Convenience had quietly turned the countertop into an appeals court with recipe widgets. 90. On a stormy afternoon in Washington State, a man checked his home battery app every 12 minutes like an anxious pilot reading fuel gauges. The house still had power. The reserve was fine. The weather remained weather. Dashboard culture turns ordinary storms into monitoring hobbies for people who have always wanted spreadsheets to include lightning. 91. If the robot vacuum can be voice-named, Americans will pick a title either too grand or too insulting. One couple called theirs the Duke. Another named theirs Crumb Pig. Both then ended up speaking to a spinning plastic disc with a tone normally reserved for interns or minor nobility. Floor cleaning has become socially confusing. 92. In a Cape Cod rental, the host proudly advertised a smart toilet with heated seat settings controlled by side panel. Guests spent the weekend pretending not to discuss it while secretly comparing modes in the group chat. Home tech does not stay private once it gains presets. Somebody always turns bathroom warmth into a review category. 93. Beside the media console in a Michigan den, a universal smart remote promised to replace 6 separate controllers. The owner loved it until software updates rearranged the screen icons 3 times in 1 month. Consolidation only feels elegant while the buttons stay where muscle memory expects them. A bad update can make one remote feel like 7 strangers. 94. When the home app offered geofencing. A couple in North Carolina set the lights and thermostat to react automatically when they arrived. Then one spouse went jogging near the block 3 separate times, and the house kept welcoming them home prematurely. Location-based automation is just math around boundaries. Unfortunately, cardio does not respect boundaries. 95. Across a bright Arizona kitchen. A woman used her refrigerator camera to prove there was still orange juice left after her son claimed otherwise. She sent the shelf photo into the family group chat like evidence from orbit. One half-empty carton stood there under the bulb, glowing with guilt. Domestic truth now comes with internal fridge photography. 96. If a smart curtain system exists in a bedroom, someone will absolutely schedule it for confidence and then regret it on the first Sunday. One man in Colorado programmed 7 a.m. opening with proud discipline. Winter arrived, the room filled with blinding mountain sun, and he woke offended at his own ambition. Automation keeps promises you made in a different mood. 97. In a Midwestern mudroom, a family mounted a smart whiteboard that synced school pickups, trash days packages, and sports practice. Useful until the father accidentally typed grocery thoughts into the wrong field, and the whole week displayed ham, maybe across Tuesday, in giant letters. Digital organization collapses quickly when indecision gets calendar privileges. 98. Near the sink in a San Diego kitchen, a faucet sensor kept turning on whenever the owner leaned in to stare out the window while washing dishes. Infrared proximity cannot tell reflection from intent, only that something warm entered the activation zone. He got splashed 3 times in one sunset because contemplation now counts as a hand. 99. 2 retirees in South Carolina loved their smart home until voice commands started failing whenever they spoke over each other. Couples talk in overlaps, corrections, and half-finished phrases. The assistant heard weather, lights, jazz, and cancel from one blended sentence and executed the least helpful combination possible. 40 years of marriage met a microphone with no people skills. 100. If your house can announce the washer cycle is complete, somebody will start ignoring the alert with the same dignity they use for texts from family. One New Jersey household let the clean clothes sit so long the speaker announced completion 3 separate times, each with identical optimism. Even machines eventually sound passive-aggressive when nobody empties the drum. 101. On Christmas morning in suburban Ohio, a family gathered to test every smart gift at once. Plugs, bulbs, camera, speakers, air fryer, scale, and a watch. The router folded under the load. Half the setup screens froze, and one blinking speaker kept saying it needed the app that required the speaker to finish setup. The living room looked like an electronics store had slipped on ice. A blinking speaker asking for Wi-Fi while the router is already wheezing might be the cleanest smart home image America has produced so far. What is the weirdest thing you have seen a device mute, mishear trigger block, or completely overcomplicate inside a house? Subscribe for more.